I wish you all luck in the world.
With due
in getting them.
respect,
Thank you
with due respect, Grant, I mean, like, veterans, being one, right, and our friends are over there.
Right.
We followed this closely from multiple administrations, and we know the Trump's administration's efforts here were fairly weak. That they were trying to limit the number of people that would get out, and so there was coordination problems.
Joe, I'm gonna cut you. I'm already weak. I'm already low on time, Joe. Cut him off, please. Cut him off now. Cut him off now. You're not going to blame this on President Trump on my show. That's not happening.
It's so interesting to me that we have consistently seen liberals and Democrats be called snowflakes by conservatives and Republicans, when more often than not, you see this kind of a reaction from the right, where, this man at Newsmax invited a veteran onto his program, and instead of hearing him out, as soon as he said one critical thing about Trump, it wasn't even a big deal. He said one critical thing about Trump, he shouted at him and cut him off. Literally cut him off of the broadcast. Newsmax is not a news program. It's not meant to be open for debate. They're not reporting on the news. It's literally just talking heads shouting at the screen and shouting at their guests, trying to belittle them and to force them to see the world as they see it, which more often than not is filled with hate, division, and fear. And it's a really sad statement when you see so many of these individuals on Newsmax, on Fox, on OAN, on various talking heads that appear on YouTube, on podcasts, on Facebook, etc. And they have these huge followings. Millions and millions of people watch these folks. And all they're offering is hate, division, and fear. I don't know how we heal as a country, how we can move forward when so many of the people in our country look to these folks as their shepherds, look to these folks as their thought leaders, look to these folks to help shape their worldview. I don't get it. These propaganda outlets that exist purely to sow hate and division and fear. And people love it. They keep coming back to it. In some cases, it seems like people are addicted to this stuff. And you can't even draw, a fine line or a thick line or anything between, the crazy QAnon conspiracy theory bullshit that was out there in the past few years, seemingly has sort of died down, and between these individuals. They might not be out there reading from Q messages or whatever on 4chan, but they're singing from the same songbook. They're all on the same page. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying to think that this kind of rhetoric, this kind of behavior, this kind of individual is what so many people in this country want to see more of. Right? Because if they didn't, they wouldn't return. They wouldn't be return viewers. They would see something once or twice, be like, oh, that's an interesting point, that's whatever. And then once the person went crazy batshit, they'd be like, oh, that's not for me anymore. But no, they keep coming back to this. Tucker Carlson's one of the most watched folks on cable news. And I use the word news extremely loosely because it's not a news program. He's not a journalist. He's just a talking head that spreads, again, hate, division, and fear. And I don't know how we move forward. We need to protect freedom of speech in this country. We need to protect journalists. But at some point, as a society, we need to figure out a way to deal with this kind of nonsense that is growing from the right. There's not many centrist voices on the right. There's not many conservative voices that aren't preaching insanity. It's important to have healthy debate in this country. It's important to have folks on the left, folks in the middle, folks on the right, and to have a debate about things. Because as much as I'm a diehard liberal progressive, and I want to see progressive policies implemented, I don't think that it's wise for there ever to be only one view on anything. It's important that you can see things from different angles. It's important that people can bring you back if you go too far. Because yeah, even the left can go too far. There is a too far on the left. So it's important to have debate and conversation. But that's not what's happening, right? These people are only interested in continuing their own narrative. And as you saw from this guy on Newsmax, they will shut you down and kick you off their program if you're not following in line. And it's interesting because they will also cry about, deplatforming and, people being silenced and everything. Yet they're the ones who do that all the time, right? You see this from Christian nationalist groups. They constantly want to silence anything, whether it's a movie, a TV show, a kid's show, a commercial even, that doesn't conform to their worldview. Anytime there's an LGBTQ representation, even mixed race families, these psychos will go out there and campaign against that company. It used to work. They used to be able to pressure companies into changing what they were doing. Thankfully, we're past those days for the most part. But it's just incredible that we continue to see this, where the right is saying, oh, it's bad to silence people. It's, the left is snowflakes. And then you see this kind of reaction from the schmuck at Newsmax. I don't know where we go from here.